Hi, this is Ryan from Independent Locksmiths and Security in Sydney. Today we wanted to explain the evolution of Australian padlocks and how they're used in commercial installations. About 30 years ago we started with the Lockwood 234 padlock, which was an inline padlock, top loaded, snap shut padlock. So it had a unique barrel that looked like this. When it was built, the barrel was inserted, pins and springs loaded from the top, plugs bashed into the top and linished off to finish. Snap shut because you can take the key out and snap shut the padlock without the key being in there. There was also a need at that time for key retention, hence we moved to the 245/50 padlock, which was a heavier duty style padlock. Again, had its unique plug that only fitted this style of padlock. And you'll notice that I can't take the key out without the shackle being in the locked position. That stopped padlocks being unlocked in the field. The next step in the evolution was to move to the 234/45 padlock, which was more of a modular configuration and took a standard 530 cylinder. The 530 cylinder was inserted into the padlock. The 530 cylinders are easier to load than the older style of loading it into the top of the padlock. And this cylinder also fitted other padlocks in other lock sets in the range, which meant that Lockwood could effectively get rid of these two lines. As the 530 cylinder was coming out of patent, Lockwood created the figure 8 cylinder and stepped up to the 234/45 style padlock. This was modular in design, just like the 234/45 was. The cylinders came preloaded, so that you just had to insert the barrel into the cylinder there and insert that into the padlock. This padlock is actually configured with a collet and chain. Collet is a small round piece of metal that gets, after the chain's been slid over the shackle, gets belted up and over the top of the shackle to ensure that the chain stays on the padlock, and then the other end of the chain is fitted off to a gate or a hatch of some sort where the padlock's being installed, so the padlocks don't get thrown away or taken off site. The next step in the evolution was to go to the 334/45 style padlock. Again, similar to the 234B in the figure 8 style of housing. However, this housing here is unique to the 334/45 and the 215 padlock, and takes a 570 plug. So the 570 plug is common in the Lockwood range. This padlock here also can be configured to be snap shut or key retained. Where a situation is required for a smaller shackle diameter of 6mm, such as petrol bowsers, okay, the Lockwood 215 is used. Okay, just moving on to some other brands. Just before we move on, everything from the 234 B45 backwards is now redundant and end of life. So the manufacturer no longer produces parts for it, and we wouldn't recommend using these style of padlocks in a newer keying system. If there are a large amount of padlocks in an installation that are the 334 B45 style, then they could be reused because they are a modern padlock that we can acquire parts for, and the cylinders are fairly standard. The plugs are fairly standard. Just looking at some other brands now. With Bylock, it went through a similar evolution as Lockwood, with the original 234 style plug being inserted into the padlock, and then a retaining pin being attached to the side. The new generation of Bylock padlocks now takes a figure 8 style housing to give it more flexibility. Over here we have a range of shackle sizes, so these are interchangeable in most of these padlocks, depending on the application. Just a couple of other padlocks here, one from Abus and one from Master. These both take a different style of cylinder, which is known as a PD cylinder. Again, it's figure 8 in configuration, modular, fairly common style of cylinder that we can put into these padlocks. This Masters Pro Series 6627 padlock is a high security all-weather padlock with a thicker diameter shackle, some water resistant collars, and a cover to go over the cylinder there. This is actually a cyber key cylinder in the PD style that can be fitted into the padlock. We hope you found this information helpful in trying to identify and explain how padlocks in Australia have evolved. Thank you.